I was at work. I was back home and working when they announced the Switch 2 release and all like the titles that were coming out, and they were building up the hype for that. And I was in there, and my coworkers were just like, "Man, we're PC gamers. Fuck this like little kid shit. I don't want to do this." And I was like, "Yeah, fuck that too." And I was like, putting in my pre-order.
This is Decibel's Kill Feed. I'm Mike.
I'm James.
And ahead of their new album Observance, as well as their appearance at Metal and Beer Fest in Denver this December, we are joined by Joe Linden of Primitive Man. Joe, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me back. It's awesome.
So since this is your second time speaking with us, we'll be skipping our typical introductory questions.
Sure.
If anybody out there is interested in seeing his answers about his gaming history, please check the description below. We'll have a link to his first interview there. So for now, we're going to dive right into it. Joe, what have you been playing lately?
You know, I was looking back at our last interview.
I don't. That's why we asked.
And, I was reading through it and I realized that I was kind of throwing some shade at FromSoft games. And I remember quickly after that, I was like, should I give this series its flowers? And I am so deep into From Software games. It is driving me insane. Elden Ring all the way through, man. I have 100%ed that game. I love it. I love the lore. I love the shit. I'm very deep into it. Night Rain came out. That was a fun little boost in that excitement. Went back and played the Dark Souls games. Redid Sekiro. Did Armored Core. Did all of that. I get it. I don't know how else to say it. I get it now. I was talking shit and I take it back.
What was the change? Like what?
I didn't know how to play it. I didn't know what I was doing, man. Okay, hear me out. I started with Sekiro. And from what I gather now, this game was one of the more frustrating titles that they put out. And I started with that and I was just like, okay, this is some bullshit. Like, I'm never going to get through this game. I'm not good enough to get through this game. This takes a particular gamer. This takes a type of person to beat their head against the wall and beat this game. Elden Ring's been out for a while at this point. I figure I'll give it a shot. Everyone's talking about it. It's apparently the best game ever created. So I'm going to check it out. I get into it. Hook, line, sinker. I'm into this game immediately. I love how convoluted the story is. I love how difficult it is, but unlike Sekiro, you can run around, you can level, you can prepare yourself better, you can create the type of character you want to be to fight the bosses that need to be, and just fell in love with it. Pumped like hundreds of hours into that game. I think I'm at like 200 or 300 hours now. And I think after I got all the achievements, did everything I wanted to with it, I was like, well, maybe I should go back to Sekiro. Maybe I should give all these other things a second chance too. And then with that mentality of how to play Elden Ring, it taught me how to play all their titles. It taught me how to play Sekiro. It taught me how to play Dark Souls 3, and then I went to Dark Souls 1. Haven't done Dark Souls 2. Oh, Bloodborne. Loved Bloodborne. I even played it on my potato PS4, and I barely got through it to the end.
Everybody gets really mad about the locked at 30 FPS kind of thing. Was the technology holding you back, or what was it about Bloodborne where you're like, you just got through it? I think if I would have played it when it came out, I would have been more attuned to it. But coming from Elden Ring, coming from Sekiro, these games, playing on PC too, just like very smooth games that run really well. And then I just had this piece of shit PS4, like the original PS4 that has, years of dust in it. It was just sounded like an airplane taking off. It was just trying to hang on there, but I really wanted to play the game. I put headphones on just so I could focus. And it just kind of chunked along. It didn't feel great. I love the vibe. The vibe fits my mentality perfectly. But yeah, it just, technically speaking, it didn't really hit super hard. I think if we got a 60 FPS version of it, it would be great. And it would be really fun. Oh, and also, I got to the final boss and I left for a tour and I came back and my data was corrupted and I never actually got to finish the game.
Wait, hold on. So
just saying. You
left for tour at the final boss. Final boss not
complete. Yeah, man, I was at the 0 hour. I made it all the way to the end. I was like, I gotta go.
Van's outside. Ethan's honking the horn. Get the fuck in here.
Go. Nah, it wasn't that bad.
So you've played the vast majority of them. What has
Sure.
been the standout title for you?
Elden Ring, by far.
Yeah.
By miles. But they're all special in their own way. I just love that those games don't hold your hand. Because I'm really kind of going back and playing a lot of games that I passed on for the longest time, just because I don't know, I have the time now, I guess, or something. And there's just so many games that just hold your hand the whole time, and they just like the story is just out there, and that's fine, and it serves its purpose. It's great, but I really like, being confused and not really sure what I'm supposed to do, and like it's a puzzle. I love solving a puzzle and problem solving.
I think especially a few years ago, a lot of the big title action games seemed to be very much like like you said, I'll hold your hand through point A, point B, point C, point D in the plot. And it seems like the excitement on FromSoft in the last few years definitely relates to people looking for something different than that,
Yes, absolutely. I completely agree.
I think even beyond that, something that we talked about last time was your affinity for retro titles, particularly Gen 5. You really like that SNES to like PS2 era.
Still love it, baby.
The FromSoft games do a really good job of threading that needle of most certainly being a modern game, but appealing to a generation of gamers that have been around before games were effectively just movies with buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that not holding your hand, that like more opaque story, but the really tight gameplay, like you can tell that this was a really well-coded effort, and there's something about it. Whether, even with Sekiro, even with the one that like is the most controversial and people have the hardest time with, there's something very compelling about the story, the atmosphere, the setting that you just want to keep, like you want to torture yourself to keep going. Do you think that your kind of retro affinity played into that appeal of the opaque, or was it really just a matter of like, well, I'm just going to give it a shot?
I had never really thought about that before, but as you were saying it, I was like, this rings true for me. I think it does fit that like replayability. Like it forces you to come back and try it again. And like, if you do put it down, you're just thinking about it and you're like, well, why was it like this? And like, maybe I could do it differently this next time. And like, it feels more interactive. It doesn't feel so like a movie that you're pushing buttons to, like you were saying. It doesn't feel like that. It feels like a more collaborative experience in a weird kind of way, even though, they have gone above and beyond in crafting their beautiful stories that they're telling.
So you went from Elden Ring, you've gone through the single player experiences, but you've also said that you've been enjoying Night Rain. Are you more interested in the slower single player narrative experience, or has that like high action, high intensity multiplayer gameplay caught your attention in a way that you hadn't expected?
I still prefer the single player experience. It's very strange going from Night Rain back to Elden Ring. It's like you have this weird atrophy because it's a different game. They're not the same game. But I think I was just looking to scratch that itch, We had done everything. We had seen everything. Nothing new is coming out for Elden Ring. So this was just like an exciting thing that was coming out. And I notoriously do not like multiplayer games. I don't know. Playing games to me is a very, like, it's my time. It's my thing that I am doing. And Night Rain kind of bridged that gap for me. It was something I was interested in. It was a title I was interested in. And it also makes you play nice with others. And, it helped me when I was home, like, reconnect with old friends and stuff. Like, I'm talking to friends that I maybe haven't done anything with in a really long time. And this was just some common ground that we could do some shit together, and you don't even have to leave your house.
Do you see yourself trying out more multiplayer games after that reconnection with friends, or is this a very like one-off experience?
Nah.
Yeah, fuck them.
That's what I mean. Like, this bridged the gap for me. Like, I could, I could poke my head out a little bit and have some fun with my friends, but then I feel burnt out after it. It's so high paced and like just it's a lot. That game is a lot packed into those 45-minute rounds. And after I'm done with it, I'm just like, okay, I want to go do my own thing again. It is fun, though. I appreciate it for what it is.
Is that about your runtime on it? You can do like 45 minutes, and then you feel like that's about enough?
Well, so I mean, each time you play, it's broken up into 3 nights. Each night is like roughly like 14 to 16 minutes or something. So that's the amount of time you have. It's about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how long it takes you to beat the bosses at the end. It's a timed situation.
Did you get through all the bosses?
I did, yeah. When my buddy and I first downloaded it and we're playing it together, I didn't think it would ever happen. And then it just started to, like, once you figured out how to play very quickly and all the metas started and everybody talks about the best builds and what you're supposed to be looking for. And, you know, as the zeitgeist in the game kind of built up, it became much more tangible. And yeah, I've gotten through all the bosses, and they've been issuing out these like Everdark Sovereigns, which are these like tougher versions of bosses that have already been out, and I've been able to get carried by random people through those as well. And yeah, it's fun. It's like a game that I can just like, after I beat everything, it's a game that I can just pop on, see what's updated, see what new stuff they have, and just kind of kill some time.
Would you give something similar a go?
I don't know. It would just have to pique my interest. I would have to, if it was like an experience that I would have with other people online, I think I would have to play with people that I want to hang out with, or it needs to have some common thread of something I like. Like, I already liked Elden Ring, and I had friends that were interested in it too, so this thing was exciting. It was new, you know. I don't know. I couldn't see myself jumping into like a first-person shooter or like anything like that. I'm just not. It's not really my bag.
Well, I think that the correct answer for that question is the Dustbloods, yeah? The one that they announced for Switch 2.
Yep, that was a... You know, I was at work. I was back home and working when they announced the Switch 2 release and all like the titles that were coming out, and they were building up the hype for that. And I was in there, and my coworkers were just like, "Man, we're PC gamers. Fuck this like little kid shit. I don't want to do this." And I was like, "Yeah, fuck that too." And I was like, putting in my pre-order because they announced Dustbloods, and I was like, "Oh shit." Well, that like, if I needed anything to convince me to buy that thing, I was like, well, that's going to be it for sure. And they're going to do Elden Ring, the Tarnished Edition, and all that too. So like, there are things that will eventually make the Switch 2 make a lot more sense than it does right now, I would say.
How have you been enjoying the Switch 2 so far?
It's fine. I would say, so for me, I had a Switch Lite that I did not like. That thing sat in my backpack on tour and never came out. Like, I didn't like the way it felt. I didn't like the way it ran. I played at home a little bit. I think I got it during the pandemic or something. So for me, the cool thing about the Switch 2, and I would say this for anybody that missed the Switch generation, pick it up. It's like a Switch Pro, and everything runs a little bit better. If it runs on the Switch 2, it runs much better, and I'm having a great time like catching up on titles. Like, I got to play Mario Odyssey and like all the Nintendo branded stuff that I had missed out on because I didn't like my Switch Lite. Like, now I get to play through it, and it's fun. Mario Kart World was like being the launch title on the Switch 2 is fine. It's a Mario Kart game. It's fun. It's cool. It's whatever. But there's not too much to it other than like, haha, fun drive Mario game. And then Bonanza came out, Donkey Kong Bonanza. I'm a huge Donkey Kong Country fan. I love the music. I love the good platforming. It's near and dear to my heart. So I was excited to pick that one up, and it was fun. It was fine. Played through it, and it really holds your hand, and it's really charming, and it's fine.
I'm still working through Bonanza. I'm definitely taking my time, making sure I find as many. I'm not doing 100%. I don't love it that much, but
Sure.
like, I'm trying to like give it the old college try before moving on to the next level, you know?
It feels that
And-
way at times. You're like, I'm just going to pick this up and go collect-a-thon some shit, and then I'm just going to put it down. It doesn't feel like it's like, I'm like chomping at the bit to get through this game. It's just like
Yeah.
something to do.
Dude, IGN gave it a 10.
Saw
I'm
that
like, this is a
10.
good game, but this is not a perfect game by any means.
No, it
Even
is
if,
not
like, for
perfect.
something like the camera is, I know that sounds like such a nitpicky, bullshit thing to bring up outside of context, but, like, that is such a big part of those games. And when the camera's bad, there are definitely chunks that are, like,
Feels
gameplay is
bad. Yeah, absolutely. I would never give that game a perfect score. I'd give it a high score for sure. I'd give it an 8 or 9, no problem. But I don't know what it is with Nintendo platformers that the camera just can't work. Like, that's the rule. Since Mario 64, the camera can't work.
Part of the experience.
Maybe that's part of the difficulty scale, yeah, maybe.
That's that Nintendo difficulty creeping in from the NES. It's like, no, we can't make this too easy.
I likewise went back and forth on that though. Just I same way. I was like, it's like I'm interested in this. I'm a huge fan of the franchise. Instead, I recently replayed through Donkey Kong Country 2. I want to make the jump. I haven't yet. Should I do it?
I mean, if you have a Switch 2, yes. Because what else is there to play on it, really? If you're not catching up on old titles like I am, I'd say you've got Mario Kart World, you got Bonanza, and then you've just got some random third-party stuff.
I'm not going to lie. I'm one of those weirdos that actually wants to try Shadow Labyrinth. Did you see that shit?
Yeah, it's like a new age Pac-Man game that looks very cool. I got bogged down in a different 2D scroller, so like it kind of got put on the back burner for me, but it did catch my attention for sure. I love when franchises do that. They try something new and like, I don't know, edgy or whatever the fuck.
It's so out of left field.
Yeah.
Like you go from Pac-Man World to like Metroidvania, blasphemous kind of shit.
Sure, with this dark filter over the whole thing. I like it. I think it's a cool idea for sure. It caught my attention immediately.
What was the other 2D platform you got caught up in?
The new Ninja Gaiden Ragebound. It's kind of like
that last night.
It's very fun. It feels very good, and it's nostalgic, and it scratches all those itches. I like it a lot. I will be speedrunning it. The speedrun leaderboards open up today.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, let's fucking dive into it. Big part of the discussion last time was speedrunning. What have you been speedrunning lately? Have you added any more to your repertoire?
Same old shit. Better times, though. I've gotten better, I swear. Isn't that just the way, though? That's speedrunning.
Yeah.
It's just the same thing over and over again. Admittedly, like, I don't do the marathons as often anymore. I don't really have the time like I used to, but it's become, it never went anywhere. I'm still doing it for fun. I've got a few world records here and there. I did finally complete a run of Donkey Kong Country 2. That was like a huge goal for me in all of this. I got by the skin of my teeth. It's not a good time. But
what kind of time are we looking at? Also, I'm asking the question. This is right here, sitting over here. I just been playing that. What was your time?
So I got sub 1 hour. That's all I wanted. I think like the top 3 are like 35 minutes or something. I got sub 1 hour, and I'm happy with that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll be like really dive into it, but it's something fun to do. Dude, I'm so deep into the retro stuff, much more so than like the last time we spoke. I'm getting rare cartridges and all sorts of crap now. I just picked up the Resident Evil 2, the Biohazard 2 N64 cart to speedrun that. That was really fun. Never played it on the N64 before. There's green blood. It's fun.
So how was it learning an N64 run with that controller?
Not bad. It uses the D-pad. It's like the only game I've ever played on the N64 that uses the D-pad. So it's really not that bad. It feels foreign playing it like that because you never use that controller that way. But it's all right. It feels a little heavy. Like the controls feel heavy when you like they got weight to them when you push them versus like the PC port, the PlayStation version. It's got you're a little lighter on your feet. So there's a little bit of a learning curve, but it's fun.
Is MGS still your speed run of choice?
Yeah, baby.
Yeah.
They recently found out that with the original PC port of Metal Gear Solid, there was a minimal install that you could do if your computer was a piece of shit. And so they updated the rules with the speed run. So you can do a minimal install, which removes cutscenes and some like audio files. So there's some like audio that's just not there anymore. And it saves a considerable amount of time. And that helped breathe some life into the speedrun again. The community was kind of dying. Nobody was really playing it. Good runs were just based around RNG, which is very frustrating. But this kind of, got the community pepped up again to try it again. And it's fun. And then, eliminating cutscenes that you don't need to see and stuff is like speedrun gold, baby.
It's crucial.
Yeah.
What's your time on that these days?
I don't let me look it up real quick. I think it's like a 35-minute run.
Just thinking about how many nights I spent on that game when I was younger. Admittedly, I haven't played it in years, but like just imagining how much time I sat there playing that and like walking around.
Yeah, that's the first step into like what else are you supposed to do? You're like, I've done everything. I might as well just beat it as quick as possible. I thought I had a 33-minute time. I guess, yeah, 33:56. So sub 34 minutes would be my quickest time. That's so ridiculous. What am I doing with my life?
You're doing fun shit. That's what you're doing.
It's still very fun.
How often do you practice this?
Oh, not nearly as much as I used to. Like I said, like I've been catching up on so much stuff that I was so hyper focused on playing the same games all the time that, I really been like, it's almost immediately after our last interview, I was just like, I should play these games. I don't know, like what. I came out of it thinking like I need to try more stuff. I need to put myself out there more often. I'll do it with movies now. I do it with video games. I do it with music. It's just like I want to try new stuff. My partner and I do this thing where we watch a movie every week, but like the rule is like it should be new. Neither of us can have seen it or whatever. So I am play that with games too. I'm trying stuff, especially with all the indie games coming out and stuff. It's like $20 or whatever. It's like, yeah, why not? Give it a shot. That's how Ninja Gaiden was. I wanted to try something new. Speedrunning was feeling a little stale in the moment, and I was like, all right, let's just give this a shot.
Before we move on to the indie games, though, you have MGS, RE2, Donkey Kong Country 2. I know that these are kind of like the titles that you loved growing up. These have been near and dear to your heart for decades at this point.
Sure. Final Fantasy VII, yeah. All those old 5th gen games.
What do you look for in a game when you decide this is something that I want to learn how to speed run versus I just want to try this casually? Like, is there a moment when you're like, this is something that is worth investing the time to learn the strategy, to do the research, to put that investment into it?
Absolutely, dude. Like, pretty quick when you're playing through it for the first time or the 100th time or whatever, there's these things like these check boxes that have to get checked for. Everybody's different, of course, but I'd say there's some universal truths to speedrunning where it's like, how heavy is the RNG? Is the soundtrack good? Like, you're going to be playing this game for hundreds of hours and over again. And some days you're not going to get past the first part of the damn game. So, like, do you like the music? It's like stuff like that. Does it feel good? Does it flow good? Is it what you're interested in?
If somebody is out there thinking about trying a speedrun, not even like dead set on picking it up, what would you say is like the first step to figuring out whether this is right for you?
How much time have you dumped into it? Like, is this your favorite game? And to the antithesis of that, are you willing to let this game piss you off in a way that, like, you once loved this game so much? Are you ready for this thing that you cherish to really get under your skin and make you want to just shove your face through the monitor? Or do you want it to remain your favorite game that you play once a year or something like that? That's a question you should ask yourself.
Do you hit that point where it's like, I love this game, I'm furious at this game because I keep playing it over and over and over again, and you kind of hit a point where you don't like it and then you fall through the floor and then you come back up and you love it again?
Absolutely, dude. Yeah, it's part of the roller coaster for sure. When it goes right, it's the best feeling in the world. When it goes wrong, it feels absolutely terrible. And sometimes it's good to take a step away from it and like be like, I'm just going to play this game the way it's supposed to be played again. And I think you can maybe reset your brain a little bit. Burnout is very real with speedrunning.
Have you ever gotten close to burnout with any of these games, or have you been able to pull back from the edge?
I've been burnt out for sure. I've gone through huge droughts, even since we last spoke, where I just didn't play games for like a month or two, which is odd for me. I play a lot, and just nothing would really grab my interest. I think early on with the speedrunning too, was just so in that mindset that I'd play a new game and I'd be like just trying to get through it as quickly as possible. And it had just kind of infected my brain a little bit. And I had to take a step back and be like, what are we doing? Like, this is supposed to be fun. Let's take our time and really enjoy this. And I think getting away from, preparing for marathons and only speedrunning all the time and doing all that and playing all this back catalog that I had been ignoring for so long really helped with that. Because now when I come back and I speedrun, it's fun. It's fun again. It's like playing a game for the first time again. It's exciting when it works well. It's that weird thing where, like, when you put it down and come back to it, you feel like you're almost doing better at it because you're not so hyper focused on everything. And it's more casual. I call it casual speedrunning. It's easy to do on stream that way, where you're just like, well, I'm not going to reset. I'm just going to see it through, even though we're not doing that great. It's just a fun thing to do. Resident Evil 2 is a big one for me for casual speedrunning, where it's like, it's fun to beat it quickly. You know exactly where to go and how to route it and stuff, but like, are the hands coming out of the planks of wood going to grab you this time? And like, instead of getting so frustrated when these little things happen, it's fun just to be like, oh, it's still fun to play. I'm still having a good time.
As a super fan of that one, why did that one in particular catch your interest? Just because I find
Resident Evil 2 particularly?
Yeah.
The length of it is perfect for me. That's a huge thing when I'm picking out speedruns too, is it has to fit within this like 30 to 2 hour mark. There's people out there that are speedrunning like role-playing games like the Final Fantasy series and stuff, which is like 7 to 13 hours. And I was like, in what world would I have the time to learn that run? It's amazing. It's very fun to fall asleep to or to watch or whatever, but it's just like, how, man? The category of Final Fantasy that 7 that I speedrun is a PC port with a bunch of glitches and skips, and it's down to an hour and a half. So that fits like right in my threshold, you know?
That's ridiculous.
Dude, seeing those GDQ ones where it's like 7 hours for Final Fantasy 7 on PS1, I'm just like, absolutely not. Like, even as a super fan of the series, there's no fucking world where I want to sit and watch a 7-hour speed run.
And like we were saying, like for some people, awesome. That's so great. And people have that kind of attention span. I do not.
But you said the S word, stream. You've been streaming on Twitch. How's that been going?
A little bit. It's not like a main focus or anything. It honestly started as a tool to keep me accountable for speedrunning and to not reset every time and to just have some fun with it again. I did not get Twitch when I first was checking it out. I was just like, why would anybody want to watch other people play video games? That's such a foreign concept to me, which I think a lot of people on the outside of it probably have that thought process. And the more I got into it and was watching my friends do stuff, I was like, you know what this feels like? This feels like I'm sitting on the couch with my friends playing video games again. And that's very nostalgic and very fun to me. And so that's just kind of what I keep it is. It's not something I'm pursuing. I would never do it full time. It's just, you know, maybe today I want to throw it on and I want to hang out with my buddy from another place of the planet, you know, that'll hang out with me and just shoot the shit. And that's what I like about it. It keeps me connected with people that I normally wouldn't. I don't have social media. I'm not really in the immediate, you know, if I want to talk to somebody, I really have to make the effort. And this is just kind of, this bridges that gap, I suppose.
It is interesting to bring that up because I did want to ask you about that. So with the Switch 2, I feel like Nintendo, you know, as much as they keep up with the times in certain regards, they are still kind of the like last bastion of consoles that takes couch co-op and like any kind of like in-person gaming seriously. Do you hope that spirit of in-person gaming is at least upheld by a company like Nintendo, or are we all just kind of like moving closer to this PC singularity where everything just becomes online for the sake of convenience?
Yeah, I think it's very important for sure. I don't ever want to see a world where we're just screaming obscenities at each other through a microphone playing a game. I love those commercials, and you know that shit got me hook, line, and sinker. I think it's important that somebody out there should be doing it, and if anybody's going to do it, I think Nintendo's a great company to take that on. I was laughing, admittedly, because I thought you were going to talk about that piece of shit camera that they're advertising, and all of that. Like, what are we doing?
Why? Nintendo's going to Nintendo. Why? They're going to add all these fucking peripherals that nobody wants. Like,
totally. That's why I was laughing, though. But
yeah,
I don't want to get too far away from what you were asking and what you brought up. I do think it's important. I think it's awesome. You know, as soon as that thing came in the mail, I sat down with my fiance and we played Mario Kart like till our eyes were bleeding. And I was like, this is so fun. This is such a cool like experience that I haven't had since I was a kiddo. It's great. If anybody's going to do it, I think Nintendo would be the company to do it. They're family friendly. It's fun to goof around with your buds and just play those games on a couch. I think bringing that on a tour and like in a green room or at a hotel or at an Airbnb or whatever, just like you and your buddies playing that shit, it's a cool idea. It's fun.
Wait, so hold on. You got the Switch 2, you played Mario Kart. Marriage not called off, right? To be clear. Nobody bashed a controller in somebody else's head. Well, marriage is still on.
No. It's like it's a frustrating game like anything else, but no, it's goofy. It's Mario Kart, man. How you gonna get mad at that? It's not.
We get mad. We can get mad.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Sure. But it's like under the guise of this like this fun time, you know. It's not like you're sitting in a dark room by yourself and you're fighting the great consort Radon for the 30 millionth fucking time, you know. It's not like that. It's just like, oh, I got hit by a blue shell. Oh, I got hit by another one. Oh, fucking, I'll get you next time, you know. It's this fun competitive thing.
Well, you get hit by the blue shell and then something else comes in and hits you when you were like at first place, like 100 meters away from the finish line. Come on, that's infuriating.
It is very unforgiving, though. You're right. It feels like the whole world's been taken away from you, but that just makes me laugh. I think it's fun when you're playing something and it's so difficult that it makes you laugh. I also got that from like Kaizo Mario games. Like, they're so ridiculously difficult. It's just kind of funny. Like, you have to laugh.
But one caveat. Difficulty, absolutely, but it has to be fair difficulty.
Agreed.
We've brought this up before. There are too many games out there that have been aping the FromSoft formula, but all they do is they make these fucking super hard games that, like, that's their whole selling point. Is like, do you want to die 5 million times on the same boss? It's like, no, not really. Like, I want to feel like I'm learning something as I'm going along. It's funny to think of Mario Party and Mario Kart as these games where it's like, it can be so brutal in the moment, but like you said, you can't help but laugh.
What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, you get good. That's the only thing. As played out as that phrase is at this point, it's true. And like, the times that you want to get good, it's a fucking amazing feeling.
It is. I think that spans anything. It's not just video games. It's life. It's music. It's everything. Art. I'm okay knowing that, like, I can get better at something. I'm okay, you know, dealing with and coping with, like, okay, I didn't do great, but I'll do better next time. And that's where that fairness comes in that you were talking about. I completely agree with that point of just like, yeah, I want it to be very difficult because the best things in life can be very difficult. But I don't want to die in a video game just because you made the fucking difficulty scale so ridiculous that I can't overcome it. It's like, okay, I fucked up here, or I, you know, misread the puzzle in this aspect. And so it's like, next time I come at it, I'm going to come at it with that in mind, and I'll do better, and I'll do better, and I'll do better. Hard for the sake of being hard is stupid. I hate that. I don't think that that's a good selling point, and I think that's where they miss, you know, the beauty of FromSoft's formula. It is very, very hard, but it is very doable. You can do it.
It's kind of why I don't like hard difficulty in video games, because it literally just takes the base model, which is what they designed the whole thing around, and then they're just like, we're just going to turn every enemy into a damage sponge. We're just going to make these arbitrary parameters that only the most intensive people who love this game are going to even bother to place. And like James, I think, brought up in a previous interview, like RE2, the remake, you can get several headshots on a zombie and they just won't go down. Like, they're just fucking bullet sponges for the sake of being a bullet sponge in a survival horror game where every shot counts. You lose the plot.
And with the the Resident Evil engine too, they have the whole DA system where it is like, the better you're doing, like the more health you have, the more ammo you have. The game naturally adjusts the difficulty and turns those zombies into sponges because you're playing well and stuff. And I never really enjoyed that. Like, part of the speedruns for those games even is like manipulating the DA and like manipulating, like, you're like, you shoot your gun at like all around and don't hit anything because it makes it just more predictable and better. It doesn't make it so crazy difficult and stuff. I think that there are ways that you can increase the difficulty of a game that can add to the experience as well. I think about, like, we'll just use Metal Gear Solid since it's my shit. The higher difficulties on the game, they take away your radar. They give the guards a wider cone of vision. It's adding an element to the game. It's not just like, this boss fight's going to take you 2 hours longer than it normally would. It's like you have to play a little bit differently. It just adds a new thing to it. So after you've beaten the shit out of the game, you're like, okay, now here's like kind of a new experience a little bit. It plays a little differently.
On the topic of Resident Evil, though, another big thing that we discussed last time was survival horror games.
Oh yeah.
I feel like Resident Evil remakes have been very successful for Capcom. Resident Evil 7, Resident Evil 8, Silent Hill 2 remake came out.
Oh yeah.
And they thread the needle on that one. Like, everybody was clenching for that to be a terrible experience, and
Sure.
Bloober Team fucking pull it out. Now we have new mainline entries in Resident Evil and Silent Hill coming up. We got new remakes on the way, but the indie scene has also been propping it up. Since the last time that we spoke in 2023, have there been any titles that you've been really excited about?
In the survival horror spectrum?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, Silent Hill 2 was so awesome. I went into that experience not expecting much from that development team. I was just like, okay, well, I'm gonna buy it because I love survival horror. It's my favorite, but we'll see, you know? And I went into that game, and at first I was like, okay, we're getting into it. It looks beautiful. It plays good, but, you know, we'll see. I streamed the whole thing. I just was so involved in it. I think I got through it in like 3 or 4 days and just really, really fell in love with like the little nuance of it. I watched the Video Game Awards the year that it came out, and it was up for Best Audio Design, and it got robbed. That game's audio design and sound design is gorgeous. It is terrifying. If you have headphones on, you hear something out of left field coming at you, like the mood that the music invokes and just the foggy atmosphere. Like, they nailed it. I never expected that game to be that way or that team to do that with it, but they did. And I think that it was huge for survival horror as a whole. I think that we're going to see a lot of more AAA games coming out from that. I know we have Silent Hill F coming out. The new Resident Evil 9 is going to be, I mean, I'm going to get that day one, of course. But yeah, the indie games, I think, propped it up a little bit at least.
You said you were very excited about the nuances on the Silent Hill 2 remake. Could you expand on that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. I guess I was more focused on like the ambience of the game and like the way it was put together that I really loved. And like what I was saying is that I felt that they got robbed by not winning the awards for these things. But on the other side of it, like the way the game plays, I thought that the combat was very repetitive. That's not what I was playing for. I wasn't playing for the you know, random enemy encounters and things like that. I was playing for the puzzles. I was playing for the atmosphere. It was fun and scary. Maybe that feels akin to like old survival horror games that weren't so hyper focused on the action. Maybe that's why I liked it a lot. I guess I haven't really torn it apart yet until we're doing this right now, but the boss fights were
on
cool.
the spot right now.
That's okay. I can look inward, man. Beating these scary looking creatures with a pipe is fun for a while. Bashing out every single car window looking for ammo and stuff is very survival horror, but it does get very repetitive. It really was just the progression of the story that was told really well, and it looked good, and it sounded really good for me.
Were there any indie titles that caught your attention?
Did we talk about Crow Country since the last time?
No, we haven't.
That was great.
I mean, we've talked about it.
I meant on the show.
It's over here.
There's a new indie horror game that comes out every week. I love that they've gotten so popular. They're all over YouTube and Twitch, and just people love it. I don't know what it is. It reminds me of a time when my friends would ask me to play the new Resident Evil 2 or 3 or whatever when it came out, because they were too scared to play it, but they wanted to watch it, and so, you know, they'd watch me play it because I just loved the games, and it harks back to those times to me where it's just like everybody seems to be really interested in watching the people get scared by these horror games.
Why do you think that is? I mean, like, especially because, like, we definitely ran through a time of, like, in the well, I guess not early 90s, but the mid to late 90s, we had a lot of, like, slow-moving, spooky horror titles. And then for a little while after that, it seemed like they were, like, action titles with horror elements. Like, if you look at your Resident Evil 5, your Resident Evil 6, which I'm a big fan of, but...
Fear.
Yeah.
They all shifted, yeah.
And it seems like we've done the flip, where now it seems like people are very excited about slow-moving horror games. Why do you think that is? Like, did people just get tired of that, or what do you think?
I'm not an expert on it. I don't really know, but I would think it's like anything else where like things come and go. Where I think at the, you know, the way the engines worked and the limitations of scaring people on these old systems, like those games had to run slow. I look at like a game like Sweet Home or something for Nintendo. It's just like, that's how they could be scary. It was limited by the hardware, right? And then I think it wasn't much different with the Resident Evil series with their static backgrounds and their 3D models running through them. They did the best with what they could. I think Silent Hill improved upon that. And I think as you started to see these technological improvements, you can start introducing some more fast-paced action into it, which would draw people into it. I think that there were more people into action games than there were people into horror games at the time. I love Resident Evil 5 and I'm not going to say 6, no way, but Resident Evil 5 is cool. And
James loves 6.
I can tell. I'm not going to say
I'm like the official. I wish they would pay me for this because I've championed it so many times.
Every fucking interview we bring it up.
Dude, it has to happen.
Gets brought
Sorry,
up.
I'll shut up.
That's a hot take, man. And kudos to you for sticking by it. That's sick. Can we agree that it was not the most well accepted Resident Evil game?
Oh, 100%. This is not what people wanted.
There, like you just said it. That's not what people wanted,
Definitely.
right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Totally. Yeah.
So there was a shift.
Correct.
At some point in time, I think that Resident Evil 5 at the time was like the highest grossing horror game by miles. And then I think that they really were like, yeah, money is awesome. We should do that. And they dove headfirst into action. And then that game came out that you hold so near and dear to your heart. And I think that the grand majority of people were like, oh, I actually don't necessarily want that. And then you had this hard turn back into Resident Evil 7, which I adore that game for what it did. It was so scary. It scared the shit out of me. I loved being scared again. And it's a first person shooter. So like there's like action, yes, but I think the ambiance and like the vibe that they were setting up really kind of reset the series. Although, Village 8 again was a pretty action oriented game. I don't know. I think that they're trying to like figure that out. I would be very curious to see how 9's going to shape up.
I feel like we're kind of at an interesting crossroads within survival horror. Or if not a crossroads, we're shifting on that sine wave of things kind of coming in and out of favor. You have the two titans of survival horror, Resident Evil and Silent Hill, leaning into that modern technology, making it look new. But the indie scene has been much more interested in staying within that Gen 5 area, really sticking to those like PS1 and PS2 fundamentals. You have games like Hollow Body, Heartworm, Post Trauma, these indie games that are like the survival horror genre ended with Silent Hill 2, basically.
Sure, man. Yeah.
As a retro fan yourself, do you find more excitement and or enjoyment from the modern offerings that the Titans kind of bring to the table? Or are you excited to see the indie scene kind of playing off of these older mechanics that may not have run their course yet?
I think two things can be true at the same time. I think it's exciting that someone is keeping the spirit of it alive. These little groups of indie developers that get together and they really like that thing and they really want to do that thing and do it as well as they can. Of course I eat that shit up. I love that. I think it's really exciting that survival horror even is in the conversation for AAA games. That's crazy to me, but it's very cool. And dump millions of dollars into making these beautiful games, please. I'm excited for Silent Hill F, even though I have no fucking idea what's going on. I'm very excited for, Requiem and all that. But the thing that I love about is the spirit of the indie scene is just they're so nostalgic and they like that thing so much. And also they're not on this grand scale, so they can do weird shit. There's these games like Faith or Anatomy or the Puppet Combo games or anything like that where it's you can take these old ways of making these games that were limited by hardware and you can flip it on its head. You can do weird stuff with it. You can break the fourth wall. You can get really niche with it. You can get really weird. You're not limited to what is going to sell because that's not their intention, right? It's for the love of the game for them. Whereas these high-level AAA titles, they really do need to appeal to the mass public. They just got to figure it out. As long as somebody's doing something cool, it's good for everybody, It's good to have guitar music back in pop culture again. It's good for everyone.
Since we are technically a music publication, something I'm surprised that we didn't ask you last time. Did you ever have any interest in contributing to a soundtrack or working on game music or effects at all? Or are you much more interested in being kind of a consumer of the medium?
Absolutely. I am very open to the idea, especially more recently than ever. I think, I was so just trying to get back on my feet and do my thing for the longest time that video games were just kind of this escape or just something to fill my time that I enjoyed. I appreciate the art and I love it. But I've gotten so deep on the other side of it too with like learning how hardware works. I'm like, I call it being in cable hell. Like I am hooking, like I've got this giant CRT in the back that I had to like go find. And like, my point being that like, it was very fun for me to see the other side of it and how these things are created. I've downloaded game making software to just kind of dip my toes. I have no desire to like, pivot my life to go make video games by any means, but like, I'm very curious as to like how these things are made, and it's like the language that is spoken, and music and contributing in the audio field for video games would be a dream come true. I would absolutely love to do that. I have begun speaking with people, just networking and dipping my toes into it, because we were in the studio working on our upcoming album, and we all contributed a lot of these almost Foley-esque like sounds and like soundscapes and things that are happening. We really got to explore that, and I was like, you could apply this to a video game. We as a group have talked about trying to get into like the film world or like anything like that, just like a really focused idea. And I'm very much looking forward to pursuing something of that.
That was something that I noticed with the new record, that it seems like there's a lot of like soundscapes, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know if I'm using the right nomenclature here, but it seemed like it was very much like a full sound design, where it wasn't like in some of the spots where there were not the crushing riffs, but there was this very clear like sound world, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And so if you were trying to do something on a video game level, would you be interested in something more on like more of an ambient audio, or like the creepy parts of say Silent Hill, versus a song on the metal radio in a new GTA or something?
Yeah, absolutely. I like the creative aspect of trying to invoke a vibe. I'm trying to create, I envision something, whatever it is at that time, and I want to accomplish that. If your music ends up on a radio on GTA or like in a car scene in a movie or something, like that's sick. That's so cool and very flattering or whatever. But it's like that wasn't the intention of the music in the first place. I feel like when you approach a soundtrack or sound design in general, it's much more intentional, Foley work, whatever it is. And I like that. I would much rather work on ambience than I would like a rock track for this movie or this video game or something.
Primitive Man and the new Tony Hawk.
Yeah, whatever remake they're going to pump out next.
You're talking about, these Foley aspects being brought to Observance. Do you think that your experience with survival horror led into the kind of stuff that you brought to the table?
Absolutely, yeah. Probably more so from film. You have films like Hereditary, like all the Ari Aster films are very like these slow burns. But yeah, I mean, Silent Hill for sure, Resident Evil, huge influences, of course. I love video game sound designers like David Weiss and stuff, who's a little more straightforward, obviously, but still, in like aquatic ambience or something, it's just like you feel like you're underwater. Even though those songs are a little more straightforward, I just like to do it in a more terrifying way where it feels like your life is screeching to a fucking very terrible halt or something, a worse feeling, not so warm and fuzzy.
So less David Weiss, Bramble Scramble, Squawk flying through the air, more like you're going to die. Yeah?
Yeah.
Or Akira Yamaoka bringing that, weird chain slapping against an aluminum siding kind of thing.
Yeah, and I mean, if you were a fly on the wall in the studio, it looks like chains being smacked against the wall or a ladder or whatever is just in the room, and it's just a release of emotion and intent versus, Final Fantasy full orchestra, fully, envisioned pieces of art, which is awesome, and I love that shit, but that's not really what we do. That's not really what I want to do.
Not really looking for that split with Nobuo Uematsu.
Good on that. All the respect in the world, though.
So we've seen 2 installments deep in the Final Fantasy VII remake. We've gotten Silent Hill 2 remake. We've gotten 3 Resident Evil remakes. Silent Hill 1 remake is in the works. Is there any game from that Gen 5 era that you think is in desperate need of that remake treatment?
Ape Escape. I don't know, man. I couldn't tell you.
That's a legitimate answer.
That was a joke. I honestly, you put me on the spot. I think I've gotten everything I wanted. You know, Resident Evil 2 remake was like, I can't think of another game. I guess Metal Gear Solid I'd like to see, but they did it, you know.
MGS3 Delta's on the way.
MGS3 Delta is my next up. We got the new Silent Hill, the new Resident Evil. They did Metal Gear Solid Twin Snakes. Like, they remade that one. There's Resident Evil 1 HD remasters. Like, I think I've gotten all the ones that I really needed.
Square needs to get in on this. I am fucking dying for Parasite Eve. Bring Parasite Eve back.
I don't know.
Okay.
Parasite Eve 1.
James not convinced.
It's the
James
original.
is fired.
Dude, screen goes down. Like, disconnected.
Yeah.
No, the original is so good.
I'm not saying no.
Do we
Here's the
need
thing,
a new one?
The wonderful thing about remakes do not delete the original. If Silent Hill 2 remake would have been terrible, Silent Hill 2 is still the fucking GOAT when it comes to survival horror.
It's a good point.
I'm not saying that I want Parasite Eve to be replaced. I want people to recognize what a fucking amazing idea Parasite Eve 1 was, to be a survival horror game that had turn-based combat.
You know what?
Best Christmas game ever,
like,
too.
If you did like a Parasite Eve and like Square was like, hey, Capcom, could we borrow the RE engine for a minute? Could we just use that for a second? That would be amazing.
I think that could be a really cool modern AAA title. That could be really cool. And a lot of people sleep on that one. Best Christmas game ever.
Yes. Soundtrack, amazing.
Oh, so good.
Soundtrack.
So good.
The vibe, it could be an important game to come out now too, because it's so involved with like genomes and like DNA and AI and all this stuff. So it's like, I don't know. It could be an important game to come out too. That was a great suggestion. Parasite Eve would be cool.
Besides all of the games that we've already mentioned, are there any other titles that you're looking forward to that are coming out?
I mean, I brought it up ad nauseum, the new Metal Gear, the new Silent Hill, the new Resident Evil. I'm very excited for that stuff. There's like a few little indie ones that I end up adding on my wish list and forgetting about them entirely, and then I'll get an email and I'm just like, oh yeah, cool, this thing came out. I will say that it feels like the past year has been really great. I feel like there's been a ton of titles that I've been able to check out, and I've been really excited. We spoke 2023 about like what my favorite thing that came out that year, and I was like, I guess Resident Evil 4. I don't know. Like, I really didn't have a solid answer. I was like, I played a couple things this year, but this time I feel like there was some really cool games. I think maybe we're going to see an influx in turn-based games with, the advent of Clair Obscur Expedition 33. I would like to see some more turn-based games coming back. I think we found a way to bring them into the modern era.
Why do you say that? As a huge fan, I'm just curious to hear somebody else saying that.
I think that what everybody wanted from the Final Fantasy VII remake happened in Clair Obscur. I think that people wanted that kind of gameplay out of Final Fantasy VII remake.
Yeah.
Just my opinion.
Don't get me wrong, as somebody who loves what Final Fantasy did with 7, like where Final Fantasy VII remake walked, Persona 5 ran, and like Clair Obscur is definitely carrying on what they were putting down. I haven't finished it yet, but like I'm very happy to see the excitement surrounding a new turn-based RPG.
Yeah, and I'm in the same position. I haven't finished it either, but I really respect the game for what it's done. I think the art is great. I think the music is great. I think the storytelling is beautiful. I love that a French development team got on the map like that. That's really cool. There's some systems that they put into place that I thought were a little bit much, and just kind of, it just dissolves. It just like becomes too much, and you're just like, I just like the vibe of this game. I don't even really care what's going on anymore. That's my experience. So I never ended up finishing it, but I do respect it. I think it's cool. I think it's going to win Game of the Year I don't know if it should necessarily. I think that the audience of that game has just hyped it up a little too much, but I think it's important. I think it's cool, and I would like to see more turn-based games.
So we last spoke in 2023. You were a bit more, maybe not at that time, but you had expressed that you were a bit more guarded about letting on that you played video games, that this was kind of a part of your life. And since then, you've obviously been a bit more open. You stream on Twitch, you do these, speedrun events from time to time.
Yeah.
Have you noticed an interest, like an uptick in interest within the metal community when it comes to video games? And subsequently, have you seen any kind of interest maybe from the gaming community in the metal community that you hadn't noticed before?
I think that it is definitely part of the conversation. Yeah, maybe it was always there and I just wasn't paying attention because I was a little guarded about it. It was a very personal thing for me. And I had mentioned in the last interview that, like, yeah, I grew up in an era where, like, if you played video games, that was dorky and, like, you got made fun of for that shit. So I adore that we can all have the conversation now. And it's interesting to me. It just seems like it just has blossomed and it's just open and it's so accepted as just main, like, it's a part of pop culture. Everyone plays video games, and it felt like nobody talked about it for a long time, and now it's just like it's just part of the conversation, and I love that. I'm talking with people that are very close with me, even after doing the interview with you guys, or just maybe where video games are at as a whole. It just like slips into conversation. It's just like, oh, have you played this? Like, oh, what did you think about the art style in this? Or like, the movement of this, or whatever. I love it. It's cool. It's nice just being who I am and just being able to talk to people about shit that I enjoy. By the time this interview comes out, I will be about a year sober, and this is a really important part of my life, and like just staying focused and just being me and accepting who I am and like being like loud about what I like and what I'm proud of and stuff. So, thank you guys for doing what you're doing, and I look forward to watching these interviews and seeing like what people are into and having the conversation. It's just there now.
On making the jump to being sober and connecting that to video games, do you feel like that's helped at all? Like, has this been a healthy release? Has it been a positive change? Like, is that useful at all?
Yeah, I mean, you literally just said it. Yeah, it's a healthy thing to do. And maybe that goes back to the conversation the dialogue I was just like kind of bringing up, is like, I thought maybe that it was a negative thing for so long because, we got made fun of it when we were little kids. So I just kind of stuck it in the corner, and it's just like, no, this is a healthy hobby. This is like, it can get bad. I have had friends that we've had to sit down and have, like when World of Warcraft came out, I had a friend that didn't leave his room for, he had a lot of tragic stuff happen in his life, and World of Warcraft really filled the void for him. And we had to have a conversation with him and be like, hey man, fresh air is cool. Eating is cool. Taking care of yourself is cool. So, of course, everything has another side to it. But I think as a whole, it's like, it's a very healthy way to spend your time. My father was in the tech industry and he liked games when he was still around, and he would bring up, he's like, I like seeing the way that you play games. He's like, you like problem solving. You like, you like puzzles and stuff. It's not like you're just sitting there like drooling and playing this game and just wasting time. He's like, you seem invested, and therefore we're going to let you do this hobby. And that's why I got to play video games till my fucking eyes bleed, because, it was interactive and it was healthy. Sorry for the roundabout way of answering this, but in my sobriety, it helps me because it's like, I have to be focused. It's like, I would be speedrunning or something, or playing a Kaizo game, or like these like high level games, and just getting fucked up. And it's just like, it doesn't work. You can't do it. It's really frustrating. And it made this thing that I love so much unenjoyable. I had this idea in my head of like the rocker type, the same way it made video games unenjoyable. It made playing drums unenjoyable. It made it a chore. And it's like, that's not the point. It's like, I love playing drums again. I love being on the road again. I love playing shows. I love making things. You know, Observance is the first album that I've made completely sober my entire life, and I think it is the strongest thing I've ever helped create. Like, all of the evidence is there for me, and bringing it back to video games, it's just it's fun to play video games again. I'm getting to check out all these things that I was putting off for the longest time. Everything's just better. And that's just for me and where I'm at with it. You know, it's different for other people. I think it's fucking rad that, you know, my fiance likes to drink a glass of wine and kick my ass in Mario Kart. That's sick. But, you know, it doesn't really work that way for me.